Xianxia produced 3 drops of blood and said, "Is that really going to work? Don't waste my blood." Long Shui used his divine power to control the 3 drops of blood to fly towards 3 different directions and said, "You just need to continue running. This way you'll be able to divert at least 1 or 2 of the wild dogs. These wild dogs have bad brains. Even if they can tell that the 3 drops of blood is not the correct target, they will still go chase." Sure enough, Xianxia had already used his heaven tour to look behind him. He saw 2 dogs bringing 2 groups of people towards another direction, and it was Long Shui who had used his blood to lure them away. "Looks like the remaining dog is a good dog," Long Shui said. "It shouldn't be that hard anymore right now. There's only a small group of people chasing after you." Even so, Xianxia did not dare to face it alone. After all, those people who were chasing him were immortals who grew up here, and he had not confirmed their strength yet. "If there is an immortal monarch, you only need to take care of that dog," Bai Yuyu said. The people who came to track Xianxia should have been sent by the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Xianxia didn't have any enmity with them, and they were only doing things impartially. Xianxia intentionally slowed down his speed so that the people behind him could catch up quickly so that he could kill the sky dog. That way, he could escape from the pursuers of the group of people. After slowing down, he could quickly sense the auras of those people. There's actually a heavenly monarch. Looks like that Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace is quite strong, to be able to send one of his immortal monarchs to finish you off, Long Shui said. Xianxia was now only at the immortal realm, and was only at the early stages. He felt that it would be difficult for him to break through in the future, but now that he had just entered this realm, he would not think about breaking through anymore for the time being. At most, he would only be able to deal with late-stage immortals. If he were to face Immortal Monarch, he might have to engage in a bitter battle unless the opponent was a demon or he used poison or a sneak attack to win. "I can't fight against this Immortal Monarch, but I can still kill that dog right in front of his eyes." Xianxia continued to slow down, and when the people chasing after him saw his back, they immediately became vigilant, because they sensed that the people in front had deliberately allowed them to catch up. Xianxia took a deep breath and started to condense his divine power, then locked onto the snow-white Tengu. "Let's use the soul-absorbing devil spell soul-dispersing curse. Using this technique to attack this kind of beast does not require much strength. It will be very effective," Bai Yuyu said. Xianxia originally only planned to attack directly with his spirit, but after hearing Bai Yuyu's words, he immediately used the soul-absorbing devil spell. In the past, due to the limitations of his own strength, he was unable to use many of the techniques within the soul-absorbing devil spell, and this soul-dispersing curse was one of them. He chanted an incantation, and after condensing the power of the incantation, he immediately turned around and roared towards the back. He chanted an incantation, and after condensing the power of the incantation, he immediately turned around and roared backwards. Seeing these black incantations, those people immediately defended themselves because they did not know what it was, worried that this was some powerful evil technique, but that Tengu was not so lucky. After the wind formed from the mantra blew past, that Tengu had become a stupid dog. Although it was fine, its soul had already dispersed, and although it did not have a body, it was already crippled. What a powerful mental attack. Just who is this person? He has already caused us to lose a Tengu. We must get this debt back from him, a relatively young man said with a head full of sweat. Just now, he only felt that he was as lacking as this Tengu by a small margin to become an idiot. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the legendary soul-absorbing devil spell. We must immediately inform Asgard Mistress about this matter. He was the strength of Immortal Monarch, and was more knowledgeable than these youngsters. Let's hurry up and leave. This person had held back earlier. If he wanted to deal with us, you guys would have been in trouble already. The old man kept the Tengu into storage magic treasure-s that could store demonic beasts, and then quickly left with the other young men. Xianxia, who was running away, had left a strand of divine soul to eavesdrop on their conversation. If they see that I am using the soul-absorbing devil spell, it shouldn't be a problem, Xianxia asked Bai Yuyu. Although he had used devil arts many times, but most of the people knew that he had this kind of powerful devil arts, and very few could survive. No, they don't know who you are. Bai Yu didn't mind at all. However, this will still cause some waves. The attraction of the strange techniques in the demon world is even more attractive than many of the immortal world's divine arts. Chen Xiang also felt that the devouring magic kung fu, for example, was extremely useful, but he seldom used it now, and had only chosen to use it as an opportunity. He would not blindly use this devil art to swallow other people to raise his strength. If he used too much of it, it would more or less leave behind some hidden dangers. If he were to fall into the hands of someone who had ill intentions, he would definitely be especially useful. In the end, he would only end up being killed. I have to quickly find that sacred beast's ancient realm. The beast slain method is inside, and that Dan Emperor is also marked with an item there. I wonder if the Dan Emperor is hiding something there. This was what Xianxia was more concerned about right now. He needed to gather all the heaven-earth killing method as soon as possible. If that's the case, you first have to go to a place with more immortal palaces or a super large immortal palace in order to find out where that place is. Su Meiyao said. Then how do we get there? Chen Xiang asked anxiously. If you want to undergo teleportation, you have to enter the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's heavenly realm. Only inside there can be large-scale transmission arrays. Don't even think about walking on your own. Even if it's a fellow like White Tiger, it would be hard to reach in a short period of time. Su Meiyao's words made it difficult for him. He could not enter the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace now. He had just killed another person's Tengu, and those people already knew that he understood soul-absorbing devil spell. Don't worry. I can help you deal with this, but I'm still a little bit away from breaking through. As long as I can break through, I can let those Tengu not smell even the slightest hint of you, Long Shui said with complete confidence. It's true. Chen Xiang obviously knew what Long Shui was planning. Of course. Give me about 20 more sacred animal fruit before I break through. Long Shui counted with his fingers inside the ring. Chen Xiang, who was running, also calculated how long it would take him to copy 20 sacred animal fruit. According to the speed of the Hunyuan Dan's medicinal herbs, I can create it within a month. Chen Xiang thought there were different main ingredients for Hunyuan Dan. He could get 10 each every month. If nothing unexpected happened, the amount of creation divine liquid that he condensed in a month should be enough to duplicate 20 sacred animal fruit. Don't use this reason to trick me into eating the fruit. If you dare to lie to me, I'll definitely spank you. Chen Xiang said now he could only choose this method. As long as he was not discovered when he entered the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, he would be able to obtain spiritual crystal S there, and then leave the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Humph. They're already so familiar with you. Yet you still don't believe them? Long Shui snorted. Chen Xiang left the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace and arrived at a forest beside a large river. He hid in it to condense creation divine liquid and make some sacred animal fruit for Long Shui to eat. I wonder if we can get our 2 hearts worth of sacred animal fruit. How are the effects compared to 20 of them? Chen Xiang asked Su Meiyao. It's hard to say. In the past, when I refined pills, I had only used sacred animal fruit S that were wholehearted in nature. I have never seen 2-sided sacred animal fruit S, unless they were forces that specifically raise immortal beast S. Su Meiyao said. There's no need to be double-hearted. As long as it's wholehearted, it's fine. I've already calculated everything and can eat 20 of them just like that. It's not worth it to only eat one. There's no way I can satisfy my craving. Long Shui shouted. In order to satisfy Long Shui's appetite, Chen Xiang decided not to harass those 2 hearts of sacred animal fruit for the time being. He spent a month's time to duplicate 20 sacred animal fruit. After I sleep for 2 days, I'll be able to break through. Long Shui said a few words to Chen Xiang before he went to sleep. Just by sleeping, he could break through, causing Chen Xiang to be extremely envious. This little naughty dragon only raised strength by eating, drinking, and sleeping all day. Even though it was like that, the speed at which she raised her strength was extremely fast. She was even stronger than him now, causing people to be extremely jealous. Chen Xiang did not stay idle these 2 days. He continued to condense creation divine liquid S. Right now, if he wanted to copy ingredients, they were all of high quality and would require a lot of creation divine liquid S, so whenever he had time or was rushing, he would condense creation divine liquid S. If not, he would have to wait for many days. Long Shui woke up and yawned. Alright, you can go to Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace now. I guarantee that those Tengu won't find you. What if he finds me? Although Xianxia asked this, he was already rushing towards the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. If you're found out, then hit my ass as much as you want, Long Shui said with complete confidence. How did you do it? Xianxia was extremely curious. What realm is your divine soul in now? The first stage is called the power of divine arts, and you are at this stage. The second stage is called the divine transformation, and this is the stage I went through previously. As you know, the third stage is called the boundless divine arts, which is also the final stage of the divine arts. Long Shui said, as for how powerful you are, you will know in the future once you have formed your contract. I can't explain it to you right now either. Xianxia scratched his head and said, Little naughty dragon, why are you raising your cultivation so fast? It's hard for my current cultivation in the divine way to even advance. Long Shui laughed proudly. This is called a race talent. You can't force it. You, as a human, only used such a small amount of time to reach this realm. You should be satisfied. I am the Heavenly Dragon Supreme Lord. You can't compare to me. Xianxia muttered in his heart. So what? No matter what emperor you are, you will always be my person in the future. A group of Devil Dao suddenly came to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, and a few powerful demon immortals were hiding there. They all came for the soul-absorbing devil spell, especially for Emotion, and he had almost smashed the pot. The soul-absorbing devil spell had been lost for countless of years, and now that he had finally appeared, there were many powerful demons that did not hesitate to use a large number of spiritual crystals, letting a group of people come over to investigate. As for the brainless heaven dog, after Xianxia used the soul-dispersing curse, it was already a treasure. Many almighty people who came to confirm the soul-absorbing devil spell had to spend a sum of spiritual crystal to examine the 7 spirits and 6 souls in the dog's body. Although the specific cultivation method of the soul-absorbing devil spell was lost, but after being struck by the soul-absorbing devil spell, the relevant information had still been passed down. For example, right now, someone could tell from that Tengu that he had been hit by the soul-dispersing curse. The mysterious man who used the soul-absorbing devil spell had disappeared outside of Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Previously, he had killed the Divine Wind Immortal Country's Wang Sun, and he was a person who had just ascended into the sky. The weapon of attack he used was also a demon weapon with dense killing intent. Xianxia went inside the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace again and strolled around outside the sky region wall. He already knew that Emotion had sent many experts to investigate the matter regarding the soul-absorbing devil spell. Sister you're quite accurate. As expected, it caused quite a commotion. Xianxia said. That is a given. The soul-absorbing devil spell has been lost for a long time. Although I have mastered it, I have not used it much. Only a few experts know that I understand this technique, and I am already dead in the eyes of these people. Bai Yu said. See, those Tengu did not chase me. I have reached the realm of limitless divine arts, and used the peerless divine ability that only the Heavenly Dragon Supreme Lord can use, to help you hide that trace of smell that Tengu can smell. Long Shui laughed proudly. Xianxia ignored her as he calculated how he would be able to enter the heaven realm. The permit would require 10,000 spiritual crystal to buy, and they would need to eat and live inside. When he first came to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, Chang Zhenkai had first brought him to a place where he could find work and work as much as he could to earn spiritual crystal. Xianxia couldn't think of a good idea for now, so he could only come here to take a look. He arrived at a bustling street and found a 6-story tall wooden pagoda inside. There were a lot of people here, all waiting for the spiritual crystal to earn a good job. They were lazy eaters and wanted to think of the least to do the simplest thing, to earn the most spiritual crystal. On the wall of the hall inside, there were many pieces of paper, and all that was written were jobs that could earn spiritual crystals. Xianxia looked around. There were many jobs that could earn him a large amount of spiritual crystal, but it was very dangerous. To actually kill a beast king level immortal beast. Isn't this equivalent to courting death? I'm not going, Su Meiyao said. This is even more outrageous. It's just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal, yet he wants them to take a single beast egg from the king of beasts. I'll give him twice the price, and tell him to give me two. Bai Yu said. Xianxia said, I only have over 1,000 spiritual crystal with me right now. I need over 10,000 spiritual crystal to enter the heavenly region. Before he finished his sentence, he suddenly saw a piece of paper written on it. Number of recruits, your abilities must be at least human immortal grade. If it's a demon immortal or a demon immortal, as long as you have a beautiful woman or a worldly immortal, there's no limit. If you can pass the examination, you will be able to stay in the heavenly region for a long period of time. Who is this to actually need so many helpers? It seems that the conditions are not bad, and we can just use the spiritual crystal to sneak into the heaven realm. We might even be able to follow this fellow and leave the heavenly bull immortal palace. Xianxia thought. You can use the 72 changes and become a beautiful woman. You might be able to pass the examination very easily. Long Shui chuckled. Xianxia said snappily, I don't change woman. Just thinking about it makes me feel disgusted. Su Miao teased from the side as he laughed. I also want to see how this little scoundrel turns into a woman to deceive men. Just thinking about it makes me feel that it's very interesting. Xianxia secretly despised them all and memorized the address before walking out of the wooden tower to ask about the situation and see if he could pass the examination. After arriving at that place, Xianxia was brought into a small hall. He felt a little surprised because no matter how he looked at it, it did not look like the place where the great master lived. You are the 50th one today. No one has ever heard of this audit before. And this is also the last day. Work hard, young man. A big fellow said as he brought Xianxia in. Then how many fighters were recruited? Xianxia asked. So far there are only 2. If you pass, it would be the 3rd. After saying that, the big man left the hall. Xianxia waited for a moment, and a burst of fragrance suddenly assaulted him. Xianxia immediately looked outside the door, and in between, a lady dressed in a light green dress slowly walked in. She was extremely noble and beautiful, with many styles. Xianxia was stunned, not because of the girl's impeccable appearance, but because he recognized her. Yao Shumi, the leader from the past, had once threatened to take her daughter in as a female slave. However, this Yao Shumi and her daughter had a good relationship with Lu Menger and the others. Could it be that this mother and daughter pair of flowers are both here? This beautiful mother and daughter pair. Just thinking of them makes me drool. Hee. Long Shui smiled dubiously. Back then, when they were in the Sacred Dan realm, a portion of them went to the Heaven realm, and this Yao Shumi and her daughter Mujelon were one of them. They gave up their noble position in the Ditian Peach Blossom Imperial Land and chose to go there instead. My test is very simple. First, I will attack you for 3 moves and you can dodge them one by one, proving that you have the ability to escape in times of danger. Then, you will attack me for 3 moves and let me see if your strength can satisfy me. Yao Shumi revealed a faint charming smile, but it did not lose out to his noble and dignified temperament. Xianxia's mental fortitude was very good, although this Yao Shumi was more bewitching than before. He had long been trained in this area. It was not like he had never seen a woman who was as beautiful as him, and his number 1 slave, Hua Xiangyue, had even developed a very close relationship with him. At this moment he was unmoved. He knew that Yao Shumi purposely revealing a bewitching look was a kind of test for him. Xianxia also replied with a faint smile. Right now he was only an ordinary-looking youth, was secretly shocked. Earlier, when she had been looking at Xianxia, she had felt that she had already released her tempting powers to the extreme. Even in the Peach Blossom Immortal Country S, male immortal monarch S who were stronger than her would sometimes have evil thoughts in their hearts and reveal them in their eyes. However, the young man in front of him didn't seem to be affected at all. In addition, there was a hint of a mocking and playful smile on his face, as if to say, for a trash like you, it's useless to strip naked. Yao Shumi was secretly shocked, but a very gentle smile surfaced on his face. The feeling this warm smile brought was like a gust of warm wind that suddenly blew in a cold world of ice and snow, causing one to be infatuated. Just then, Yao Shumi's soft and delicate palm suddenly struck over like a ray of light. Xianxia, who was already prepared, immediately turned and dodged to the side, dodging the palm strike. He brazenly took a deep breath of the wonderful fragrance released from Yao Shumi's body and laughed. Continue. Yao Shumi was such a strong woman. If not, she would not have been leader's leader. She felt that she was being toyed with by a man, and fury filled her heart as she landed lightly on the ground. Her body moved like a ghost, and in the blink of an eye, she was already behind Xianxia. Just as she was about to hit Xianxia, what made Yao Shumi angry was that during the most crucial moment, Xianxia had actually jumped up and allowed her blade to miss. Humph! After Yao Shumi's palm hit nothing, she immediately extended out her beautiful long leg and kicked at Xianxia. Xianxia had a lot of battle experience and understood Yao Shumi's thoughts very well. Everything was within his grasp. When he dodged Yao Shumi's palm strike, he knew that she would strike, and after he avoided it, he anxiously turned around. At this time, Yao Shumi had just raised her slender legs up high. Although she was still wearing her pants, but facing a man like this, she immediately blushed. Seeing the playful smile on Xianxia's face, Yao Shumi scolded in her heart. She felt that the person in front of her had done it on purpose, wanting to see her make a fool of herself. You passed the first trial, but if you don't pass the second trial, you still won't be able to become my fighter. Yao Shumi recovered from the shock and said softly. Xianxia nodded. Are you really only in the elementary worldly immortal stage? Yao Shumi suddenly asked. The chi the man in front of him was releasing, without a doubt, the aura of a worldly immortal. Of course, Xianxia said honestly. His innate chi was indeed at this level, so even if it was released, it did not matter. However, his body was very strong. Then you can make your move. You can use the innate chi to move your body, but you cannot use it when you attack. Yao Shumi warned repeatedly. If you are a threat to me, I will retaliate. Just as Xianxia wanted to take action, 3 figures flashed out, 1 girl and 2 men. The lady was a graceful and gentle lady. She looked extremely similar to Yao Shumi, wearing a pink dress. Her entire body was releasing a spiritual chi, and the lady was Yao Shumi's daughter, Mu Jialan. Xianxia was not surprised by the relationship between mother and daughter. He was only curious why Yao Shumi had asked for a helper. Xianxia guessed that the 2 men who came in with Mu Jialan were probably the other 2 thugs that they had just recruited. However, looking at their clothes and temperament, they did not seem like they lacked spiritual crystal S to do this kind of work. These 2 men are both in the advanced stage of the immortal realm. That heavenly peach blossom goddess only has the strength of the intermediate stage of the immortal realm. Who knows? They might not be a match for those 2 men. Long Shui said. She could quickly see the strength of others. The innate chi in those 2 men's bodies were very pure. They were not rogue cultivators, but rather from famous sections. Su Meiyao said. Mom, this is the person who just accepted the recruitment, right? How strong is he? Mu Jialan had a gentle and sweet smile on her face as she sized Xianxia up. No matter what kind of person the other party was, as long as they weren't her enemies, she would treat them politely. He has already passed the first round of my assessment. He is now in the second round. Yao Shumi's words surprised Mu Jialan slightly, and the 2 men were even more so surprised. They never thought that the person in front of them, although not much in terms of appearance, would have such strength. Mu Jialan's eyes lit up as he laughed. Mother, even the 2 ground-level guards from the 2 immortal countries were unable to clear your first round. I never thought that he would actually be able to do it. The light-robed man refused to accept this and immediately said, That's just because we haven't used our true strength yet. To lose face in front of a woman was something that these 2 men couldn't accept, even though Mu Jialan was speaking the truth. The other man in black also quickly said, If you don't let this brother compete with us, then you will know. Xianxia secretly laughed in his heart. He really wanted to teach these 2 a lesson, but just when he was about to agree, Yao Shumi said, We'll talk after I finish this round of examinations. Yao Shumi was secretly toyed with by Xianxia just now, so he was in a bad mood and wanted to take revenge. As long as I can meet you 3 times in the second round, I'll consider it as passing. Mu Jialan's eyes moved about. He looked at the two immortal country's guards and spoke softly. Mother, this is extremely difficult. In these past few days, no one has been able to pass through even the first round, let alone the second round. In the past few days, Mu Jialan had been annoyed by these two immortal country guards, and took this opportunity to attack them. This was because they were unable to pass Yao Shumi's test and had to use their background to follow them. The two men's faces changed slightly, but they did not say anything. But Xianxia could see the ruthless look in their eyes. It was directed at Mu Jialan. Mu Jialan had also noticed it, but she still had a smile on her face, obviously wishing that the two men hated her. Yao Shumi frowned slightly when he saw that his daughter wanted to make enemies with these two men. You youngsters, can't you help me relax a little? If it wasn't for my father's sake, I really don't want to come. Before, he had even planned to pursue Mu Jialan, but he didn't expect that Mu Jialan would scold him in such a way, which made him angry in his heart. Exactly, don't think that you can strut around as long as you are in charge of Dtion's position of power in Heaven Realm. You guys are only SOSO here, don't think that you're still acting like you're in charge of Dtion. The other azure-dressed man said coldly. Yao Shumi was furious and shouted, You don't want to follow me, you can go back now, if not for you I, Yao Shumi, would still be able to accomplish the task. Before this, I did not want you to come, you have not even passed the first round of my examinations. Xianxia watched the show from the side, and the scene allowed him to see the situation that Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were in the Peach Blossom Sky Kingdom. Could be said that it was normal, but one part of the reason was because they had accomplished a great merit in the Emperor Sky Realm, so it gave them some convenience. However, from the words of the two men, the beautiful mother and daughter pair were merely vases in the Peach Blossom Sky Kingdom. It was also because of this that made Yao Shumi angry. When Mu Jialan saw Yao Shumi scolding her, he stuck out his tongue and laughed softly. Mother, don't be angry. These two fellows are useless at all. Not only did they come here without proper business, they eat and play merrily all day long, and even brought a group of their bad friends. They always have something to do with me. Yao Shumi said to Xianxia, I have let you down, we will proceed with the next round of examination. If you can pass, the rewards in the future will definitely be very generous, and the two fellows just now can all be given to you. From what you can see, the strength that you have displayed is much better than those two guys. It's enough to have one henchman. Mother is so awesome too. One or two. What's there to be afraid of? Mu Jialan smiled sweetly. Then madam, please get ready. I am going to make my move. Xianxia said. Mu Jialan retreated to the door, her beautiful eyes flashing. She seemed to be studying seriously. Attack me 3 times. As long as you can touch me with these 3 moves, including my clothes, even if I can pass, I will only dodge. I won't retaliate, nor will I block. Yao Shumi and Xianxia stood at a distance and made a gesture that indicated that Xianxia could make his move. Watch my palm. Suddenly, he disappeared. He did not use a spatial teleportation, it was purely his footsteps. He modified it using the shrinking step so no one could see him. But in Mu Jialan's eyes, his footsteps were extremely strange, as if he was riding on lightning, flashing back and forth. When he made his move, Xianxia had even reminded Yao Shumi, and when Yao Shumi saw this strange yet incomparably quick movement technique, she was greatly shocked. Not giving her time to think, Xianxia had already arrived behind her back and smashed his palm towards her. Yao Shumi's movement technique was also not bad. Xianxia had seen it firsthand, but it was all in his hands, and when Yao Shumi dodged, he seemed to know Yao Shumi's thoughts, and immediately appeared at the place where Yao Shumi had landed after dodging, beside Yao Shumi. He had already slapped his palm towards Yao Shumi, just in time to push him to the side of the beautiful woman's proud mountain range. Ah! Yao Shumi cried out. Just now, she felt that her twin peaks, which had not been touched by a man for who knows how many years, had been rubbed by someone just now. Xianxia felt that he had touched on an incredible thing, and anxiously retreated, explaining, It was not intentional. Yao Shumi blushed red. In the previous tests, she had already suffered a small loss due to Xianxia, but she didn't expect to suffer a huge loss this time. Mu Jialan's face was filled with astonishment, and he did not know what to say. because Chun Xiang did not do it on purpose just now. That must have been intentional. Yao Shumi coldly snorted in her heart. She really wanted to fight with this person in front of her. Of course, she blushed when she saw Chun Xiang. She could not attack him, as the person in front of her had good strength. If he was not a little hoodlum, then he was a perfect candidate in her eyes. Let's continue. Yao Shumi's expression recovered its calmness, and said solemnly. Chun Xiang was more careful this time. His footsteps were not strange, but his speed was even faster. It was just that he did not dare to use his hands to attack, and only used his leg to sweep below Yao Shumi's knee. Yao Shumi was also wary of Chun Xiang now, and was worried that he would be eaten by her again, so she kept her guard up against him. However, she didn't expect that Chun Xiang would only hit her lower body this time, and while she was dodging, Chun Xiang's foot would still gently slide across her long skirt. From the third strike, Chun Xiang had still only targeted Yao Shumi's knee area. Yao Shumi had also already noticed this. From the moment Chun Xiang had flashed towards her, she had already seen it in his eyes. It only hit Chun Xiang's knee for a second, in order to prevent embarrassment and misunderstanding when touching a place that should not be touched again. Both Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan understood this point, so they secretly praised Chun Xiang's character. Yao Shumi tried his best to dodge, but he still couldn't understand why Chun Xiang's leg still hit her leg. Chun Xiang's speed and movement skills were both higher than hers. You passed. Although Yao Shumi said it this way, he was still a little unconvinced in his heart. Everyone had a competitive spirit. Furthermore, she was defeated by a young man whose cultivation was much lower than hers. In Yao Shumi's heart, she thought that adding on the 3 previous times, he had already lost 6 times in a row. You can follow us to the Qingyun realm. As for what you're going to do, you'll find out when you get there. Yao Shumi said, as for the danger, there definitely is. It's fine if you want to withdraw right now. Chun Xiang thought for a while, then asked, if you finish what you need at Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, can you bring me to another Immortal Palace? I don't want to stay here. That's fine. Maybe you'll have to follow us everywhere during this period of time, and be transported to other Immortal Palaces. Yao Shumi knew that the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was located in a relatively remote location in the Heaven Realm, very far from the other Immortal Palaces. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan led Chun Xiang to the entrance of the Heaven Realm, and helped Chun Xiang get a pass at the entrance. They already had it a long time ago, so Chun Xiang did not know why they had so many spiritual crystals to use. He had finally entered the heavenly region. No matter what aspect it was more luxurious than the outside world. The streets were paved with a kind of extremely beautiful jade brick with some engravings on it. There was no need to even mention the shops on both sides. The decorations on the outside were extremely luxurious, and the interior was even more luxurious. Of course, everything here was expensive. Even if it's the Dan King S, it would still be difficult to survive in this kind of place. They are basically burning spiritual crystal here. Chun Xiang followed behind Yao Shumi, looking left and right, as though he was a country bumpkin. The majority of the people inside were very strong and rich. One could tell from their clothes that Long Shui had already pointed out what beast skins some of them wore and what kind of celestial silk they were wearing. Mu Jialan and Yao Shumi could be considered more outstanding beauties. Furthermore, they were walking together with 2 of them, making them look like a pair of beautiful sisters. This, coupled with the existence of a bumpkin that was incompatible with the heaven realm behind them, caused them to attract many gazes along the way. The place Yao Shumi and the others were staying at was very good. It was a quiet courtyard house. This house isn't cheap, right? The moment Chun Xiang entered, he saw the multicolored fragrant flowers in the courtyard, and when he saw the elegant little house, he immediately exclaimed in admiration. 1,000 spiritual crystal a day isn't too expensive, but there are only 2 rooms here. Before, Lanner and I had a room each, but now I'll give one to you. Lanner and I will live together, Yao Shumi said. On the way, she had already asked for Chun Xiang's name, but she didn't ask for anything else. Chun Xiang had told her a fake name, Yang Yu. Right now, they were sitting in the courtyard. Madam, did you guys ascend from Dtian? You guys should be very famous in Dtian, right? Chun Xiang deliberately asked. Oh, my name is Yao Shumi. I'm. Knowing that Xianxia was also flying up, Yao Shumi was a bit surprised. I've heard a lot about her. She should be the Peach Blossom Heaven Lady. I didn't expect her to be you and your daughter. I should have thought of that long ago. Xianxia purposely revealed a look of respect. Little Yang, then you should have heard of Xianxia. How is he now? Has he ascended yet? But come to think of it, your luck isn't that bad. You actually didn't appear in the palace. Mu Jialan asked excitedly, his face full of expectation for Xianxia to answer her question. Xianxia shot a glance at Yao Shumi. He realized that Yao Shumi also seemed to be interested to know something about him. He never thought that this mother and daughter pair would actually be so concerned about him. Oh, are you one of his wives? So concerned about him? Since Xianxia purposely said that, of course he could answer Mu Jialan's previous question. He was Xianxia. Mu Jialan stuck out her tongue. Supporting her cheek with one hand, she said, of course not, but his woman and I have a good relationship. After getting along with each other for a while, we can be considered good friends. Xianxia asked again, then you really admire him? Mu Jialan immediately nodded. Of course, to be able to chase away the great emperor who has 2 dragon veins, and to be able to go against many Tong Tian aristocratic family and sage realm cultivators earlier, while not being afraid of the chaotic mountain in the sacred Dan realm. Mu Jialan listed a bunch of Xianxia's achievements, and some of them were things that Xianxia did not remember, so he felt that there must be some people making him up. However, Xianxia still corrected him a little and said, he only had 1 dragon vein. Chan Martial continent was suddenly suppressed by a very big mountain. Thus the entire Devil continent was destroyed. Oh, then did he ascend? Yao Shumi asked. There was no news of him decades ago. He should have ascended long ago. Xianxia did not want to reveal his identity right now. In this heaven realm, there was a large handful of fellows who were stronger than him. Until now, Xianxia still did not know what dangerous things this Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were trying to do. He had tried to sound out their conversation, but they didn't say anything. Looks like the person we're waiting for won't be coming today. Yao Shumi looked at the sky and said, then I'll go out and buy something. What do you want to eat? Mu Jialan looked at Xianxia. She was extremely polite to him. Just eat some immortal beast meat. Xianxia had originally only said that casually, but Mu Jialan nodded and then left. Little Yang, it's still too late for you to leave now. We won't take that month's pass, and what you need to do with us is indeed quite dangerous. You just came to the heaven realm, it's not easy to ascend. Yao Shumi said after hesitating for a while. Xianxia shook his head. Don't worry about me. Why don't you guys use some spiritual crystal S to invite a stronger ranker? Yao Shumi sighed. I will soon be able to become an immortal monarch. At the worldly immortal stage, my strength can be considered stronger. If I were to invite more people, then I will become an immortal monarch level person, which requires a lot of spiritual crystal, and immortal monarch may not be able to do it. Then what is it? Xianxia's heart itched. I'm not sure for now, the main thing is that we need to grab something. After we catch it, we might be hunted down, and as for whether or not there would be an immortal monarch, that's what I'm worried about. Yao Shumi said in a low voice, and Xianxia had interacted with the mother and daughter before, and that was when they were at Sacred Dan Realm. They had a good impression of this pair of beautiful mother and daughter, but when their group met with danger, Yao Shumi had done his best to protect them. If he could help them, Xianxia would definitely do his best to help them. Moreover, he could tell that this mother and daughter pair was probably going to face a huge crisis soon. When night fell, Mu Jialan gave Xianxia some decent clothes, because he would be with them for a period of time. Hurry up and put it on. Mu Jialan laughed. Let's eat first. Xianxia looked at the large chunks of grilled beast meat on the table, which was covered with some fragrant seasoning. Xianxia very impolitely ate a lot of meat, then went to take a bath and change into the clothes Mu Jialan had given him. Although he currently had a very ordinary appearance, he had changed into a set of luxurious golden clothes, giving him a very human-like appearance. At the very least, he wasn't as rustic as he was before. Not bad. Don't rot it. Mu Jialan nodded his head in satisfaction. Deep into the night, Xianxia stayed in her room, but she was not at ease. Long Shui was also staring at the surroundings of the small house, because the mother and daughter should be in danger right now. They didn't sleep. Their eyes were open. They didn't speak. Long Shui said, "Once they speak, if they have anything important to say, pass it on to me." Xianxia said. Long Shui said again. Mu Jialan spoke, "Listen." Through the secret technique that Long Shui used to turn his voice around, Xianxia could clearly hear Mu Jialan's voice. Didn't little Yang say that Xianxia has already ascended for many years? But why is there no news at all? Yao Shumi said, "If I were Xianxia, I would also be raising my strength in a very low profile. If he had any news about it, this heaven realm would have already exploded. I really hope to see him soon. Maybe we can." Before Mu Jialan could finish speaking, Long Shui shouted, "Someone is approaching this place." Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan also sensed it, and immediately got off the bed and went into the courtyard. When Chen Xiang executed the divine traveling technique, 3 black-clothed men appeared in the courtyard. At first, Long Shui had only just noticed when he arrived, not to mention that this was the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's domain, which was filled with experts. "You only have 2 months left. You must capture that pair of Holy Spirit rabbit. Otherwise you will definitely die," one of the men in black said, sounding like a woman. "Got it," Yao Shumi said coldly. "You should at least give us some clues. Back then, it was your Peach Blossom Immortal country's Immortal King who obtained it. He arranged for a person to bring it here and sell it to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's Palace Master, and that Immortal King eventually gave a mysterious person to him. That mysterious person should very likely be the Heavenly God Blade Palace's Palace Master, and currently, her maid is responsible for raising him," the man in black said. Chen Xiang already knew what he was going to do next. After the 3 black-clothed men left, Chen Xiang told what he had heard to Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu. "The Holy Spirit rabbit actually appeared. Haha, it's the matter of those 2 bitches stealing the rabbit again. I wonder how many idiotic men would fall for their trap." Su Meiyao laughed, but it was filled with ruthlessness. Chen Xiang and Long Shui were a little shocked, and immediately asked, "Sister Meiyao, could it be that those 2 bastards who want to steal the rabbit are people who have tortured you two to such an extent? It's not them, but they are also one of our enemies. They had cheated us before, and they seem to be related to our greatest enemy." Su Meiyao said. "What happened to the Holy Spirit rabbit?" Chen Xiang asked. "That must be something extraordinary." "Holy Spirit rabbit is a holy beast," Long Shui said. "It is merely a holy beast that is the weakest, and has no offensive power. But this Holy Spirit rabbit has a very heaven-defying ability, which is, by eating the spiritual crystal and condensing a lot of holy blood, it can condense a small bowl every day. After drinking this holy blood, the benefits are great. It can help us cultivate our body of heavenly sage even faster." Su Meiyao said, "That's right, but this Holy Spirit rabbit also has another ability, which is to disappear at the same time every once in a while, and then reappear in the same place again. But all this time, only Snow Moon Immortal Palace and Frozen Moon Asgard have known how to find the Holy Spirit rabbit. So every time the Holy Spirit rabbit disappeared, it would cause a struggle between the 2 immortal palaces." Chen Xiang said in surprise. "Doesn't that mean that the 2 palace masters are very strong, and drink this sacred blood all day long?" Bai Yuyu replied, "Of course, if not we wouldn't have suffered such a huge loss at their hands. They are indeed powerful immortal kings." "Then why did she force Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan to steal the rabbit?" Chen Xiang couldn't understand. Divine Saber Immortal Palace is not someone to be trifled with. If he knew that it was Shui Yu and Han Yue who stole it, Divine Saber Immortal Palace wouldn't care so much. He would immediately kill his way over. Of course, this is only if he has evidence," Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang took a deep breath. Now he knew how dangerous the things Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had done were. If Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were to be discovered, Divine Saber Immortal Palace wouldn't be much either. Peach Blossom Immortal Country is made up of many immortal palaces. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to be called Immortal Country. I didn't think that these Tong Tian aristocratic family and Sheng domain would have such rallying powers in Heaven Realm," Su Meiyao explained. The powers above heaven realm are all huge beings. Any immortal palace has a lot of power. This Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan are really unlucky to be forced to do such a thing. Whether they succeed or not, the consequences will be dire. Su Meiyao said. They are all from the Peach Blossom Immortal Country, and the jade rabbits were sold there from the Peach Blossom Immortal Country. That's why they were chosen. If they were to successfully steal them from the Divine Saber Immortal Palace, I think they would definitely be found out. Bai Yuyu said. They are women. It is easy to get close to them, but what do they want me to do? Chun Xiang could not understand why Yao Shumi and the others wanted to invite an outsider to participate in this matter. At this time, Yao Shumi knocked on Chun Xiang's door and lightly shouted, "Little Yang, are you asleep yet?" Chun Xiang immediately stood up to open the door and asked, "What's the matter?" Yao Shumi said in a low voice, "Follow me." She then brought Chun Xiang to their room. Mu Jialan had already set up a formation inside, and obviously wanted to say something very important. But these two women and the man were in the same room, making Chun Xiang feel a little uncomfortable. What we have to do is dangerous, and it's only 2 months away. Yao Shumi gestured for Chun Xiang to sit as he said seriously, "Well, what is it?" Although Chun Xiang and the others wanted to steal the jade rabbit, they didn't know what to do. Yao Shumi said in a deep voice, "We need to steal 2 rabbits, but it's extremely difficult to enter that place. But we already have a way. When the time comes, you must cooperate with us." Chun Xiang nodded. "I will do as you say." Mu Jialan's expression became very serious as well. It was obvious that they were under a lot of pressure right now. "We will arrange the following matters for you." In the middle of the night, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan brought Chun Xiang and walked on the luxurious street that was the color of red wine. Even though it was still in the middle of the night, the sky region was still bustling with noise. Chun Xiang followed this pair of beautiful mother and daughter flowers. After passing through a few streets, they arrived at the front door of a villa. Chun Xiang did not know what kind of villa this was, nor did he have a name. Yao Shumi walked to the door and lightly knocked. After waiting for a while, a middle-aged burly man opened the door and welcomed Yao Shumi and the others in. It was just that when Chun Xiang went in, he was scanned by a few strong streams of consciousness, but he did not discover anything strange about his body. "There are several immortal monarchs," Long Shui said. "No wonder why there weren't any guards here. There were a few immortal monarchs here. Perhaps only the immortal kings would dare to barge in." Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan took Chun Xiang around 7 and 8 turns in the villa, and in the end, arrived at a 3-storied building made out of white jade. "There are 3 immortal monarchs inside," Long Shui said again. Knew that he had to be careful in a bit. After entering the white jade pavilion, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan first made Chun Xiang sit in the hall to wait, while the chairs, floors, pillars, etc. Everything was made of white jade. Not long after, a beautiful lady wearing a snow-white dress walked out. She looked pretty and cold, and when her eyes swept over, it gave off a cold feeling, as though she was 1,000 miles away from everyone else. Her entire body emitted a proud and aloof aura. She was actually an immortal monarch. So familiar. Could it be her? Bai Yuyu said in shock. "It's that little girl. I didn't expect her to grow up to be so big." Su Meiyao giggled. "Little scoundrel, the beauty in front of you is not a human. She's a flower demon formed from a 10,000-year snow lotus, the same as LV Qinlian." Chun Xiang asked, "What's so funny? You know her?" "This little girl is very strong, and she is very good at dealing with men, especially those who are bad. It is said that if there is a man who is dishonest and wants to do something bad, she can feel it. Then, she can use one of her abilities to freeze that thing to death." Su Meiyao laughed. Chun Xiang now understood why Yao Shumi wanted to test him. So there was this layer of relationship between them. Bai Yuyu said, "I thought she would be like junior sister, but I never thought that it won't be." Su Meiyao laughed and said, "She is a snow lotus to begin with, so there's nothing bad about being with senior sister at a cold place like yours. I like women like senior sister very much." To think that this little girl Yu Shuilian would actually be the maid of the Divine Blade Palace mistress. However, for her to be able to raise a jade rabbit here, It seems that she has quite a high position in the Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Bai Yu said. At this moment, Yu Shuilian was staring at Xianxia. She could tell that Xianxia was distracted, but there were 3 beauties sitting in the hall, and it seemed like he did not see them. Little Yang, this is the Snow Lotus Demon Lord. She is one of the 10 great monarchs of the Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Yao Shumi said. Xianxia immediately bowed to Yu Shuilian. Yang Yu greets the Snow Lotus Demon Lord. Even though Yu Shuilian's face was ice-cold, she had a very good impression of Xianxia. She gently waved her hand and said, "There's no need to be polite. Please take a seat." There were only Xianxia and the 3 women in the hall. Xianxia took a sniff of the 3 different scents and suddenly felt that there was something indescribably wonderful about them. Big Sister Shuilua, my mother has already tested little Yang and passed all her tests. She hasn't failed a single time. Mu Jialan laughed. Oh, you really can't judge a book by its cover. Yu Shuilian nodded slightly. Xianxia was confused now. He felt that these 3 women were plotting something. Yu Shuilian had the support of the Divine Blade Palace Mistress, and was in charge of taking care of the Jade Rabbit. On the other hand, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had been kidnapped by the Frigid Moon Snow Moon Immortal Palace to steal Jade Rabbit, but from the looks of it, they seemed to be in the same group. Xianxia quickly thought that if they wanted to take all of that Jade Rabbit by themselves, they would have to pay the price of being hunted by the 3 palaces. Of course, Xianxia was not afraid because no one knew that he was also involved, but he wanted a share of the spoils. We need to keep what we do a secret. If you are willing to swear a blood oath and don't leak it out, I can prepay you 100,000 spiritual crystal and give you 200,000 after we finish our business. Then we can part ways. Yu Shuilian said. These 300,000 spiritual crystal, to a rookie who had just entered the heaven realm, were a huge sum. However, Xianxia would not tell them that he had obtained a sacred animal fruit worth 200 spiritual crystal not long ago. All right, Xianxia immediately agreed, and then made a blood oath that he would definitely not leak the news of him cooperating with the 3 of them. Follow me. Yu Shuilian stood up and walked towards a door. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan followed behind. Xianxia was the last one. He felt that the 3 women in front of him were really sick of living. They actually wanted to swallow the Jade Rabbit in private. Arriving at Yu Shuilian's room, there was a large jade plate placed on top of a jade table. Xianxia and the 3 ladies were surrounding the table, only to see a few images inside the jade plate, and 4 rabbits that were snow-white like jade and released a snow-white glow were running around in a stone room, and inside the stone room, there were 2 old women sitting with their eyes closed. There are actually 4 Holy Spirit rabbit. Xianxia was secretly shocked in his heart. These 2 old fellows are both from Immortal Monarch. Su Mei and I will think of ways to get rid of them, Yu Shuilian said directly, and then she gently touched the jade platform, causing the image to jump outside the stone room. It was a small courtyard, and there were over 10 beautiful women there, wearing very thin clothes, almost naked, but Xianxia was not moved at all. Lanner will be in charge of the women outside, and then the passage to the stone chamber. Yu Shuilian touched the jade plate again, but the surface was completely black. Soon after, an image appeared faintly. It was a naked woman with a plump body and jade-like skin. She could clearly see the beautiful things that could make one's blood boil. This woman is responsible for the passage. You only need to deal with her and use this to open the jade room array gate to raise the rabbits. Then, go in and put the 4 jade bunnies into the immortal beast bag. Yu Shuilian had given some things to Xianxia, so she was becoming more and more satisfied with him. Because when Xianxia saw those charming and enchanting girls, as well as those alluring jade bodies, he was not moved at all. I'm coming out, Xianxia asked. Meet us here. I have a transmission array plate with the surname once, which will allow us to move far away from Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Yu Shuilian said, originally, we planned to make our move in a month or 2, but now the situation doesn't allow it. We will do our best to maintain your condition. Xianxia rubbed his nose and asked, why don't you find a girl for this kind of thing? Girls are more convenient. Yu Shuilian said, no, because the person who opens the Jade Room's array door must be a man. Although I am an immortal monarch under the command of the Divine Blade Palace Master, he is still very wary of me. That's why he arranged this way. I cannot open the array door directly, but he still gave me this thing. Xianxia frowned and said, so that means he is purposely testing you, because other than you and those two old granny from the immortal monarch, no one else can open the array door. Wuxia nodded. That's right, after we obtain the Jade Rabbit, we will leave this place, and they will probably go to the Snow Moon Immortal Palace to report back. We can't have one each. Although I don't know what kind of rabbit this is, it must be very powerful. Xianxia said. No, if this Jade Rabbit Blood Man is used, he will only... Actually, a lot of people did not know that the palace masters of the Frigid Moon Immortal Palace and Snow Moon Immortal Palace were men. There are many women in these two immortal palaces, and they are very strong as well. Wuxia's words stunned him. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu did not know either, but this was simply too shocking for them. Xianxia had to remember that he should never touch the women of the Snow Moon Immortal Palace and the Cold Moon Immortal Palace, and never even look at them. Now, he knew why this Holy Spirit Rabbit was sold, and it turned out that men could not use it, unless they did not mind him becoming a woman. But I still want one. Xianxia said he cannot use it, but his woman can. What are you doing here? If you sell this thing, it will only lead to a fatal disaster. It's very dangerous, and it will also be sensed by the Snow Moon Immortal Palace and the Hanyu Immortal Palace. Also, if the Jade Rabbit comes into contact with men for a long period of time, it will disappear on its own, so every so often the Shui Yu and the Hanyu Immortal Palace won't be able to protect it, even though they have become women. What Wuxian said was the truth. She felt that giving it to Xianxia would only be a waste. Just give it to me. I really want it. Xianxia said. The questions that Wuxian asked were all true. Mu Jialan looked at Xianxia strangely, and suddenly laughed. Don't tell me you want to become a woman? Oh yes, you seem to have a strong restraining power towards women. Could it be that? Hearing Mu Jialan's words, Wuxian and Yao Shumi could not help but laugh. No, I'll give one to my woman. In short, give me one. Xianxia said. Well, if you can do it, I don't mind giving you one. Although Wuxian looked cold, after interacting with her for a period of time, he felt that she was very amiable. Hearing that they had the chance to obtain Holy Spirit Rabbit, the three women in the ring became very excited, especially Long Shui. She had already said that she would give her all to help Xianxia when the time comes. Holy Spirit Rabbit blood could allow them to have a very strong physical body, so they were not looking forward to the torturous training that Xianxia did. Madam Yao, why are all of you being threatened? Why don't you go back and report back? Why don't you just take the Jade Rabbit and run away with the Snowy Lotus Lord? Xianxia asked. We'll talk about it when we get it. Yao Shumi sighed softly. Mentioning this matter also made her mood very bad. Go and rest. Keep yourself in your best condition at any time, Wuxian said. Xianxia also stayed in the villa and stayed in the White Jade Pavilion. He realized that there were a few immortals in the pavilion, all of them in their advanced stages of cultivation. Daybreak, Xianxia had to follow Wuxian, and Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were also by her side. But they couldn't fight today, because when Wuxian saw him, she had already shook her head at him. In the hall, Xianxia sat and ate some snacks and fruit juice. All these were expensive things to sell outside. But while eating, he quietly gave some to the three girls inside the ring, because these were all considered to be good food within the heaven realm. Although it was not really effective, but it was very refreshing. Snow Lotus Immortal Monarch. This is the invitation from the Heavenly Cow Palace's leader. A man handed over the invitation letter to Wuxian. After Wuxian finished reading, he said, I will go. Xianxia realized that Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had a good relationship with him, and he didn't know how they developed such a relationship to scheme against him. Snowy, why are we inviting you over? Yao Shumi asked. To participate in the pill observation meeting. Several Dan Immortal have come, Wuxian said. After saying that, both Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan understood, but Xianxia did not. He asked, What is the pill observation assembly? Mu Jialan explained. It's because this Dan Immortal will be refining some pills on the spot, showing their pill refining level, and then various powers will bid, fighting over the power of these Dan Immortals. It's equivalent to hiring these Dan Immortals. Xianxia suddenly realized and laughed. I thought I was going to watch a monkey play in Dan Immortal. Mu Jialan chuckled. Dan Immortal has a very high status, although many large powers have Dan Immortals. Those Dan Immortals are very arrogant, and do their own things most of the time, so when there are immortal medicines by their side, those Dan Immortals coincidentally have no time or have temporarily disappeared, and can only hire other Dan Immortals to temporarily hold on. Yu Shuelian said, if it's a very large immortal country, then the Dan Immortal inside will be different. Those Dan Immortal will be more obedient because they need a large amount of high-level pills to support a single immortal country, and they will usually have to take care of the immortal medicines. When the time comes, we will watch together. Maybe we will even meet those Dan Immortals who are auctioning pellets here. It was in the afternoon, so Xianxia was a little excited. Because when the time came, many people with status in the Heavenly Bull region would gather, and there would definitely be a lot of strong practitioners, and even palace masters would come. Inside the Grand Palace in the center of the Heavenly region, Xianxia, Yu Shuelian and the other two absolute beauties took a car and left. When they got off the car, many of them were jealous that he was with the three girls, even though he was just a follower. Inside the palace, Xianxia got off the carriage and followed behind Yu Shuelian. At the same time, he looked at the strength of the people around him. They were all powerful. There were more than 10 in the Immortal Monarch, and the late period of Human Immortal were the most. The strength of the late period of Human Immortal was considered not bad in the Heaven realm because after the Nirvana stage, every increase in realm would be very difficult. Therefore, although there were many people in the Heaven realm, the number of Immortal Monarchs was still very few. I saw someone I know, Xianxia said in a low voice. How unlucky. Mu Jialan let out a light snort, because the people Xianxia spoke of were the two young men from before, the guards of whatever peach blossom immortal country. What surprised Xianxia wasn't only these two familiar people, but also someone he was even more familiar with, Wang Qiongjin. It's that old woman again. Why is she here? Xianxia saw Wang Qiongjin as if he was surrounded by stars surrounding the moon, accompanied by a large group of people. There were a few immortal monarch among them. As they walked along the road, no one dared to stand in front of them. They knew that such a character was following them from behind, and those in front all stepped aside, making way for them. They didn't dare to follow behind them until they saw them enter the Heavenly Ox Immortal Palace. Fire Divine Palace is like that, but it's just like that. Isn't it that Wang Qiongjin also had to return with his tail between his legs? I really don't understand. They have 3 immortal kings and there are quite a few immortal monarchs. In that world where their overall strength is so low, unexpectedly one of them died and still ran back like a stray dog. Yu Shuelian whispered. Xianxia was secretly pleased with himself, because this had a lot to do with him. The dead immortal king was killed by him. This is all because they are too arrogant. Not only them, those heavenly immortal countries and heavenly saints have all suffered losses because of this. If one day Dtion grows up, those people must be very strong. Yao Shumi said. She had come up from there, so she knew this the best. Yu Shuelian nodded. I know. It's all because of a little kid called Xianxia, right? This person has a green dragon demon-slain broadsword. It was crafted by the ancestor of the Divine Saber Immortal Palace, the Divine Blacksmith. Divine Saber Immortal Palace has always been thinking of ways to find this person and take back the Divine Blade. Dream on. Xianxia sneered in his heart. If he was pissed off, he would take the Hammer of God and smash the Divine Saber Immortal Palace to death. Upon entering the Sky Cow Immortal Palace, the interior was very spacious. In the middle of the hall was a huge patio, and upon walking up the stairs, one would be able to stand in the corridor and look down. The open space below the patio would be where the Dan Immortal would display their skills in pill refining. Yu Shuelian brought Xianxia and the others to a place on the 3rd floor. Most of the people here were immortal monarchs, but they did not greet Yu Shuelian. This way was also good. There were many less things to do. Xianxia laid on the fence as he looked at the few pagoda-shaped pill furnaces. They were all of excellent quality and were all top-grade immortal equipment. The people from the devil-suppressing Divine Palace are here. Is the attraction of the soul-absorbing devil spell so great? Person called out in a low voice. Xianxia immediately looked towards the door. only to see a group of people dressed in gold, their bodies glowing with a holy gold light. When they entered, their aura was much more powerful than Fire Divine Palaces, although there were not many people. Wang Qiongjin was at the fence on the second floor, and when she saw the people from Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace coming, her face turned ugly. It was because she was a demon king, and she hated the kind of power the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace had to restrain her. The Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace was also very strong in the Heaven Realm. They had their own rankings. Although many years had passed since the internal struggle for power, the overall strength of the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace was not weakened at all. Someone said that if the Holy Devil-Suppressing Seal could return, the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace would definitely become the strongest power. Of course, Xianxia wouldn't foolishly take the Holy Devil-Suppressing Seal to the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace to shout and fight for the position of Palace Master. Yu Xuelian could feel the aura of the people from the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace, and her long, shapely eyebrows frowned. She was a demon, and she also hated this aura. I wonder if it's been restrained for a bit, since the demon dwellers from Heaven Realm are living together harmoniously. Yu Xuelian snorted lightly. After a while, more and more people arrived. At this time, the palace mistress of Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace went up on stage and entered the Immortal Palace with the other Dan Immortal. However, he never thought that it would actually be a handsome young man who seemed to have released his aura. However, this was a genuine immortal king. Being able to control such a huge immortal palace and set strict rules so that no one would be able to destroy it, it was definitely not easy. To be honest, it's been a while since Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was this lively. The reason why it's so lively and gathered so many people is because of a single devil art. So we should take this opportunity to invite a few Dan Immortals to help our friends who plan to stay for a long time get a better chance. The Palace Lord of the Sky Cow said gently with a smile on his face. The soul-absorbing devil spell really did have a lot of magic power. Although many righteous people were cursing this devil art, they wanted to learn it very much because if one was very strong, they could use the soul-absorbing devil spell to search other people's memories and take over other people's memories, becoming a part of them. This was just a powerful part of it. Most of the rankers here had confirmed that the soul-absorbing devil spell had appeared before, because they had all seen the Tengu that Xianxia had used to cast the soul-dispersing curse. That dog was still here, and people often went to check it out. Although there were currently no clues, many experts would continue to search for this cultivation technique. Most of them were worried about wasting time, and in the past, when Su Meiyao and Bai Yu's master searched for some powerful cultivation techniques, it was not surprising for them to search for it for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. But Xianxia was also suspicious. Maybe this group of people were here for the Holy Spirit Rabbit. Anything that could help people cultivate body of heavenly sage, its attraction was no less than the soul-absorbing devil spell. These Dan Immortal are all famous. I will introduce them one by one. Let's see how they compete in pill refining now. After he finished speaking, he stood to the side and let the 5 Dan Immortals display their skills. Xianxia did not recognize these Dan Immortals, but Su Meiyao did not either, so they should be people from the younger generation. From the fire energy that was seeping out of their bodies, Xianxia was sure that these Dan Immortals all had fire souls. However, he felt that Su Meiyao was even more powerful, because Su Meiyao didn't have a fire soul. She was also so powerful in terms of alchemy, which meant that her achievements in the area of alchemy were extremely high. Next, the 5 of them will compete to refine the longevity pill. This immediately led to whispers amongst the onlookers. This life-extending Dan bead is a low-grade heaven-level pill. If you take one, you can extend your life by at least 2 years, and up to a few decades, depending on the person who consumed the pill, but taking one won't have any effect. Su Meiyao said. Of the low-grade heaven levels pills, there were more people who wanted to buy them. Xianxia also planned to get some medicinal ingredients to cultivate in the future. How much is this longevity pill? Xianxia asked Yu Xuelian. 1 pellet of 10,000 spiritual crystal is higher than many low-grade heaven-level pills. Yu Xuelian said. The difficulty in refining is not great. It's mainly because of the difficulty in cultivating the ingredients, which is why it's so useful in prolonging life. Thus it's sold at this price. Many people would risk their lives to earn this kind of. Buying this kind of pill to extend life is very easy to sell. Xianxia nodded his head and asked, "Are all these Dan Immortal famous?" Yao Shumi replied, "Of course there are. They are all second-grade Dan Immortals and can refine second-grade immortal pills. Usually, only these Dan Immortal would have some reputation. The immortal pills were from 1 to 9, and it was the same for Dan Immortal. The Du Hai that Chun Xiang knew in Sacred Dan Realm was a third-grade Dan Immortal. Dan Immortal's competition to refine pills was not about refining immortal pills because it would take a long time and immortal medicine ingredients were rare. Making refining pills in this kind of environment was easy. The gains would not make up for the losses, so they could only compete to concoct low-grade heaven-level pills. Even if they were to refine a low-grade heaven-level pill, it would still take some time. When Chun Xiang saw that they were using the foreseeing alchemy, he knew that it would take at least a day. Isn't it too boring to just observe the pill like that? How about we place a bet? The speaker was an old man on the second floor. However, there was no one beside the old man, but other places were packed with people. It could be seen that no one dared to approach this old man. Venomous Lord White-Browed Sovereign. This guy always likes to cause trouble. Yu Shuelian snorted. This old man only looked like he had a few wrinkles on his face and was hunched over. However, his hair was black, his eyebrows were snow-white, and his hair was long and hanging down. Right now, he looked harmless with his smile, but he was a poison master. No wonder no one dared to approach him. Wang Qiongjin said, "I am afraid that you cannot afford it. I will bet on my Fire Divine Palace's Elder Rue's victory. If I win, all the participants will have to give me 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. If you lose, I will give you 1,000,000 spiritual crystal." The venomous master was obviously not afraid of Wang Qiongjin, the Demon King, as he laughed. 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. This is too little, isn't it? Chun Xiang immediately recognized him. The pill refining furnace was 2 people tall, and it looked like a small, fiery red pagoda. Furthermore, the fire energy that was being released from his body was gentle and strong, giving people a feeling that he was very strong. At this time, many people were participating, thinking that Elder Rue would not get first place. Although the Fire Divine Palace's alchemy industry was one of the stronger existence in the Heaven Realm, in the competition between Elder Rue and the 4 Dan Immortal, the chances of winning were not high. This Fire Divine Palace is really confident. There are already more than 60 people participating. If I were to lose, I would have to lose 60,000,000 spiritual crystal. Yao Shumi said. Although she also had a few spiritual crystals by her side, they were still far from enough. Seeing that Yu Shuelian and Yao Shumi did not have any intentions to join, Chun Xiang knew that they were extremely cautious and did not have any interest in such things. Long Shui shouted, "Hurry up and get you to participate. Elder Rue's pill furnace is too broken. I can go in and cause trouble." Chun Xiang said, "You have the confidence. What will you do if you are discovered? What if it fails? I don't have 1,000,000 spiritual crystal on me." Long Shui scoffed, "You idiot. Can't you bet 1,000,000 on it? If there isn't 1,000,000 spiritual crystal and you want to borrow them from the 2 women by your side, then whatever you do for them in the future, it will bring them more than just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. Furthermore, you will have to risk your life and be hunted down." Chun Xiang immediately shouted out, saying that he wanted to bet, and he was immediately stared at by Wang Qiongjin. If not for the fact that he could appear in this place, others would think that he could not afford it. Long Shui laughed. "Let's wait and take the spiritual crystal." Yao Shumi and Yu Shuelian were a little surprised. They did not expect this fellow to be so wealthy. To dare to play like this, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan both knew what kind of person this little Yang was. Back when they were outside the heavenly region, he had a very destitute look and he had just flown up and actually had 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. "You used to be so rich." Mu Jialan rolled his eyes at him. "I don't have any hair on my head right now, but that guy will definitely lose." Chun Xiang laughed. "If you lose, and you can't afford it, just wait for Fire Divine Palace to come and slaughter you," Mu Jialan said snappily. Chun Xiang chuckled. "You guys aren't going to just watch me get slaughtered, right? Isn't it just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal? You guys can definitely afford it." Yao Shumi glanced at him sideways. "Xiaoyang, I didn't expect you to be such a gambler. This isn't a good thing." When Chen Xiang wanted to gamble, most people had a high chance of winning. For example, right now, Long Shui was making his move in the dark. Now that I have reached the realm of limitless divine powers, I can secretly modify the formation patterns inside the broken pill furnace to make the time inside change. This way, the pill condensation process will be slower than others and won't be noticed by others. Long Shui laughed.